Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another cast on StarCrafting. This game is Game 2 between the legends E.G. Stephano and E.G. Idra, the Titans of Zerg, two of the best Zerg players to ever hit the tournament scene on StarCraft 2, and here we go. This is Antigua Shipyards, one of my all-time favorite maps. If I host a custom game or practice, it is on this map. It's a beautiful map, especially for this matchup. Such fast units being able to exploit the backdoors on the third, which are the rocks over here, and also a race that thrives on wide areas, but this map creates a lot of chokes. But seeing as how they are both Zerg, it doesn't really hand anyone a disadvantage or advantage. A lot of open spaces over here, so a lot of opportunity for beautiful concave setups. May the best unit control win in this matchup. Guys, I don't know anything about this game other than the fact that it's a long one. I do not watch my casts before I cast them, the replays I should say, and so I'm very excited to see what direction this game goes. Stephano is now planting his natural as well as his opponent E.G. Idra, and like I've said time and time again, there seems to be just a way that you play ZVZ, and if you look at the production tab, it reflects that. They're always identical, and you can always see that one player is like a step ahead of the other, as you can see right here reflected. It's just mirror image, and it will be like this until like the 5-minute mark, until someone makes the first mistake. And it really comes down to you'll see them get the baneling nests, and it really comes down to who makes the first move and who slips up their micro and loses a big batch of lings to banelings. So we'll see how this goes down. Last time we did see Stephano sneak in very early with some sneaky banelings that hit their mark, taking out a lot of lings, but then we did see E.G. Idra recover, and with some just beastly macro and good unit decisions, he pulled himself into a win. So it is currently 1-0 in this set for E.G. Idra, and he will be against, you know, how many tournaments has Stephano won in the last little while, and just with concrete play, you know, it's just like the same build every time, but just hammered out to perfection. Two lings wandering in to see what's going on, to see if they can scout out ling count, to check if there is a spine crawler, to see if eggs are hatching from a baneling nest. But we will not have early banelings, we will have speed. I'd like to see what the drone count is right now. We do have 27 harvested to 26, so no noticeable difference at the moment. Even on gas, it looks like they are both using pretty much identical builds. What do we have here, though? The baneling nest right next to the spine crawler to create a choke here. You know, you don't want those speedlings to be able to zip up here in big numbers. You want to be able to block off this choke with the queen and with a couple of lings yourself, and hopefully control the zone. However, it's very hard to do if it is banelings, but a second queen can easily wedge itself in that space, and queens soak up banelings quite nicely, and with the range they are able to pick off banelings if they don't commit. So and look at this, we're seeing pretty much the same setup from Idra, and like I said in the last game, game 1, I was talking about how Idra, you know, really has been an old school player and seems to always want to be that way, and for his fans, that can be frustrating when he was losing and refused to change and refused to adapt to the new playstyles. But we are currently seeing an Idra that seems to have evolved, or at least maybe, I don't know what to tell you, man. He's still got that macro, but he's, you know, he's realized that the macro isn't going to carry him the entire way. He's definitely got to control his units and you know, just be smart in all aspects of the game, not when to build what and where to put it. So definitely a more well-rounded player than he was before. So this has become a very scary and even matchup. However, we do see a third, but you know, that's a ballsy thing to do, especially since in the ZVZ matchup you know, nothing gets by the overlords. It really doesn't. Everybody sees everything. We do have a couple of wings sitting there for Stephano, but 2 of them go down to a Baneling. Very deliberately, though. I'm pretty sure that Idra was cool with that. Well, it wasn't really cost effective, I don't think. I don't know if he was watching or not, you know. We do have 51 harvesters to 48. That puts Stephano in the slight harvester count lead. Back to the production tab, I'm sorry. I was on the income for a little bit too long. Instead of banelings from Stephano, we are seeing roaches. But the roach tech is also coming out for Idra, just not the actual roaches themselves. So, yeah, I'm not sure if he's going to bypass the roaches, because he is getting just... Oh, there he goes. Now he's going to spit out a bunch of roaches here. So it's interesting to see how like they kind of do the same thing, but in a different order. I guess we will end up seeing what the better method is. We're seeing Stephano way in the lead of supply. Idra closing that gap as the roaches make their way across the map, and that is the issue. We're seeing Stephano be aggressive quite frequently, but that gives his opponent a defender's advantage. Idra will get a nice little setup. Here's some lings to fodder, and I don't... Oh, the Baneling made contact with the lings in front. I feel like Idra needs to back up to his spine crawlers, but he is still going to push Stephano back regardless, picking off a few roaches along the way. But both players, interestingly enough, yeah, I don't want to see Idra counterattack here, because I don't think it will accomplish anything. However, when a Zerg player is aggressive, they will often follow it up. Like you can see this, Idra pushing, following that push with some drones. But going only far enough, he knows he can't commit to a full push, as the drones will finish and a wave of larvae will replace those drones with infestors in the next batch. And you know, that's what we very often see in the ZVZ is, you know, you're only getting one push out of each type of tech, and after that you need to change. You know, you'll see the first push with lings and banelings, the second push with roaches, the third push with roach infestor, and the last push with roach infestor hydralisk. And maybe you'll see a game go to broodlords and ultralisks, but very, very rarely does it get past the infestor phase. Normally somebody makes an awful, awful mistake, loses all their infestors, and that's game over. It all becomes, you know, down to that micromanaging, down to who can hold their infestors the longest, who can keep that count up and high. And right now we do see, switching over the unit tab, we do have pretty even infestor count, pretty even roach count, and you know, the board looks pretty damn even. But once again, Idra with the macro, he's got 71 drones to 68. Not a huge lead, but over time, the longer they sit around, that makes itself known. Both players kind of stuck on 3 bases, but a macro hatch going down in the main base of Idra. Do we see the same thing from... No, Stephano actually going for a 4th base in what used to be a gold, and now in the new maps for balance reasons, for mule balance reasons, we will see these being regular minerals. Taking the gas there already, definitely committing to this base. This is a reach. If he cannot hold this base, he will lose. And we, you know, it's a very forward position, very easy to attack from various sides. You're very open, which is exactly what a Zerg player wants when he's being offensive. We will see a couple of changelings here come out, but spotted right away by Idra. Great way to watch the map, you know what I'm saying? Idra actually getting a few of his through, sees the entire army sitting here, knows exactly what it is comprised of. We are seeing an engagement over here, a beautiful fungal growth from Stephano, and Stephano has always been good with his fungals. We will see Infested Terran go down for Idra, and a lot more from Stephano, but it looks like this engagement, especially that Concave, is favoring Idra, and he just does that, man. He just pushes on through, forces his way through fights with brilliant positioning, and excellent Concave in this situation. Tends to favor the Infested Terran over the fungal growth, which I don't, you know, I'm not really a Zerg player, so I don't know which one is generally a better. But it seemed to have favored Idra pretty hard. However, I think Idra overextended, didn't pull back in time, and now he is paying the price. Not losing any infestors really though, which is good. However, he's putting them in a very risky situation. Although he will back out before things get too bad. There's no energy on those infestors, and Idra being forced back to his base. And I think the Hydra really saved Stephano in that engagement. We will see 15 more roaches coming out for Stephano. And a new mix of Hydra for Idra. Idra now trying to take this base as well. Will he be able to hold that? I don't think so, even if he doesn't cancel the roaches. Oh, the roaches don't get it down. He will not have to cancel, but a huge force wave from Stephano, making sure he can get this down. He will not let it stand. Probably going to focus fire that hatchery with the infested Terran. No, will fight his opponent's units, and a couple infestors getting sniped by Stephano's roaches. Great target priority there. The infestors pulled to the back, but huge reinforcing waves of Zerg units come pouring out of Idra's base, Hydra included, and they are the unit to use right now against these roaches on creep. Fungal growth going down from Idra's infestors all over the Hydra, softening them up quite a bit. And man, this is so back and forth. This hatchery still stands for Idra, and Stephano forced to retreat. He does gather up his forces at the tower. I feel like he has map control at this point, but it looks like 3 infestors moving forward. Spotting from the Overseer does give vision to Stephano as well as the tower. Sees those units coming, sets himself up in a concave. This is a bad place for Idra to engage, but somehow still winning. I'm not really even sure why. I don't really know how that happened, but we will see Idra hold the high ground, or Stephano hold the high ground here. Idra though pushing in with a second wave. Hydra do not do well against roaches when they don't have anything to tank for them. And coming from all sides, Stephano with some secret agents over here will retreat. They have no energy on them, so they will go home. Very, very, very good burrow. Being able to save those infestors is key at this point. He cannot afford to enter a fight without any infestors. Now a big just flux of units here coming out of nowhere. And it looks like we will see a drone transfer from Idra. Man, this hatchery is sitting at almost no health at any time. This could be like a suicide target for Stephano's roaches. All they would have to do is step in and take one shot. We will see a fight on the high ground, but it looks like the concave favors Idra at this point. However, I don't know, fungal growth trapping those Hydra on the ramp, but he needs another fungal to keep them there. And this engagement is not looking good for Stephano, pulling back to his what was a gold base and now is not. I keep trying to call it a gold base, but that is not the case. This is an overextension of Idra, though, going to get swallowed by Hydra from behind. However, maybe not. The roaches seem to be able to pull through with weapons too, and just the basic armor that God gave him. And Hydra will be able to fire back from the... Oh, man. But with the support... Oh, no, he's going to back out. Good pullback by Idra. Good timing. Did not overextend. Could have overstayed his welcome, but chose not to. High ground will give him the benefit here in this arc and concave and range. Excellent play by Idra. Playing this so solid. No longer trying to overextend himself. No longer, you know, pushing and losing units he doesn't have to lose. This is the new and improved Idra. This is the non-wasteful Idra. You know, being so used to being able to just exploit his macro and plow through his opponent. That is not the case in today's StarCraft, and he will demonstrate that he knows how to adapt. We do have those ninja infestors from Stephano, and will they make a difference here for the former destroyer? We will see. We do have the infested Terran coming out, trying to snipe this hatchery. Will they get them down before? No, and once again, Idra is able to defend that hatchery, trying to see what's up. Stephano sends in a changeling and an overseer, unable to snipe. Oh, Idra does get it, which is an excellent pickup for Idra. And still these ninja infestors swimming around. Kind of a waste of the energy on those infestors. If there's an engagement anytime soon, there will be no energy to fight the fight, as they were all wasted on this. Oh, couple roaches get the hatchery! Huge snipe from Stephano with just a handful of roaches. Makes those worth their money. and this will be a huge hit to the economy of Idra as he has to long distance mine from there, replacing that hatchery right away. But you know, tit for tat, because Stephano did recently lose his hatchery as well. Has it up now, but we will see a big push back. Here comes Idra pushing into Stephano's base. Stephano trying to set himself up to deal with this. Knows he can't take that head on. Abandons the hatchery, which, you know, probably a good decision. But as Idra pushes, look at this, taking another hatchery and replacing his infestors. We do see Stephano pumping out a crap ton of infestors, which is good for him as they will come out with energy, and the ones he has are not sufficient. Here we do see a big wave of infestors coming out here, and a small squadron of units up on the high ground here. Probably a good idea to break these rocks at this point, because he needs to be able to wrap in around behind the army if it chooses to push into this choke. And man, this game is gonna come down to, I don't know. Right now we're seeing Stephano behind, and I don't know, Stephano is not a bad player whatsoever. He can pull himself out of this, and oh no! No spotting here to see these roaches break those rocks and come in. He leaves at exactly the wrong moment. A queen goes down, which is a huge detriment to his macro. Gonna lose none of his line. Extremely lucky that Idra wasn't ready to focus fire down the line there. Losing an infestor, Stephano. Oh man. Excellent use of Idra's roaches there. We are going to see assassin infestors here, trying to take stuff out here with some infested Terran. Just 2 infestors, beautifully placed. No detection here to spot those and get them down. Oh, he does find them with the Overseer here. And down go the 2 infestors. Crisis averted. We do have a big engagement here in the middle, and look at all the infested Terran. I don't even know who these belong to. Mostly Stephano, it looks like. A couple from Idra, but not that many. And Idra just didn't get there in time with all his units. Stephano's units were already there, and it turned into a bad situation for Idra. He had to pull back. He has to regroup. We're seeing both players sitting at exactly 199 supply. I'd like to take a look at what that means for these players. We do have very even drone counts, so the armies are very capable of being the exact same size. Infested Terran trying to do some damage here at this expansion. Stephano managing to take this base once again for himself, but Idra safely securing this one for himself, and there's really no way that Stephano can push into that base without getting boxed in and losing everything. And he looks like he is going to make a run for it. With a small pack of his units, Idra knows not to send everything. He will only respond with a few of his units. Idra sitting very patiently here, waiting for Stephano to make the first move, waiting for him to come down off that high ground. We do see Stephano's roaches burrowed, one not doing that quite. And Idra looking for those units. He doesn't know where they are. Small packs of Stephano's units splitting up in different directions, and it looks like only part of Stephano's army will meet up with the entirety of Idra's, as another part assassinates this hatchery and gets away, but at the cost of his entire army. Oh, it just gets swallowed. Idra will be able to counterattack now and push into Stephano's base, making the game once again even, although we will see Idra on more bases. He needs to get this concave, and he does, pulling down just in time, backing up not to get pulled into a choke of his own. If Idra walks farther into this choke, he will lose his engagement, but he doesn't. Now he does, and he is in a concave favoring Stephano. However, using the high ground to his advantage to fan out his units, the Hydra will push him through, and these infestors sitting out here with no units to support them. More Hydra coming out for Stephano, and E.G. Idra will back out, knowing when he is forced to leave. Somehow these roaches get cleaned up. E.G. Idra very good at multitasking, and we will see a big army for Stephano push out. Infestors with very low energy, and they will engage Idra's units, trying to pick off a few infested Terran before they pop to minimize the DPS where possible. Infestors low on energy for Idra as well. Sniping it. Oh, 2 infestors go down for Stephano with no productivity of any kind. These units pulling down onto the ramp, which gave Idra the concave he needed to clean that force up, forcing it back to the high ground, sitting on the tower. Stephano resorting to using drones now. I don't know if that was on purpose or by accident, but there were drones in that army, and that tells Idra that he is feeling good. Stephano feeling contained now. Another base going down for Idra. This is looking good for him. Stephano struggling very much to find income anywhere. He's almost mined out at his last base. And we do see assassin infestors from EG Idra coming up into the main now to snipe tech potentially. And there's really no options for Stephano. I feel like he needs to tap out. There's nothing he can do. His army isn't big enough. His infestor count isn't high enough. And EG Idra in a very comfortable position to remax if necessary. Look at the bank that EG Idra is sitting on as Stephano is starving himself out. We are seeing long distance mining to this pre-existing gold expo, if you know what I mean. Infestors trolling, not infestors, overseers trolling the map, making sure there are no infestors sneaking around. There are two here. Will they get caught by the patrolling overseers? There's one here. This will get spotted by the overseer. Is Idra watching the map, checking for an expansion here, but one does not exist. These infestors meet up with Stephano's army, and it looks like Stephano will go for one last ditch effort to make something happen here, but it's just not going to happen. 200 supply from Idra to 88 Stephano. Stephano probably doesn't even know that's the case. Otherwise, he totally would have GG'd out by now. Here it goes. This is what we're going to see. A good fungal growth going down, but look at this concave from Idra. Completely surrounds the army. Good fungal growth going down for Idra. A complete donut around Stephano. A well played and a GG. Idra takes this game series, this best of 3, 2-0. And guys, this was a fantastic game. Thank you to Zergrush for sending this. A suiting name for a suiting replay. Awesome game. I enjoyed casting this. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I will see you guys next time.